Hello students, today we are with a new interesting topic. In C language, you must have studied the difference between call by value and call by reference. What happens in call by value? When we pass argument normally inside a function, whatever the modification function perform does not reflect on original value, and that is by default call by value. And what was call by reference? When you want to change the actual value with the help of function. So for this you pass address of a variable and then you receive inside a pointer, and any modification done by the function reflect on original value. That was called by reference. That was in C language. In C++, there is a very good question asked in C++, that what is the difference between call by pointer and call by reference? You will be surprised. Both is same. No, actually not. Both is not same in C++. Yes, in C language both is same. Call by reference is also known as call by pointer. So what is actually difference between call by reference and call by pointer, that we need to see here. So we'll see here what is actually call by reference and call by pointer in C++, how both is different. So different way of passing parameters in function, that is call by value, call by reference and call by pointer. So in C language, call by reference and call by pointer both is same, but in C++ both is different. Call by value is a default mechanism, and we need to learn what is the difference between call by reference and call by pointer, because call by value I am sure that you everybody know. For learning call by reference, you first need to understand the concept of reference variable, which is new inside C++. That is not in C language. So that is in C++. So what is actually reference variable? Let's suppose a person has two names, Amit and Sumit. So Amit and Sumit is the name of a same person. Now tell me, whatever will happen with Amit will automatically reflect on Sumit, or whatever will happen with Sumit will automatically reflect on Amit, because Amit and Sumit are not two persons, are the name of a one person. The same thing is here. If you are going to use the concept of a reference variable, you will find that you are going to create a alias name to an existing variable. Means, let's suppose you have created int a equals to 10. A memory got allocated where 10 is got stored. That memory name is a. Now if you are going to provide the same memory another name also, let's suppose I have provided b. So any modification done on a will automatically reflect on b, because a and b both are pointing to the same memory location. This is written here in the slide. A reference variable is an alias. Alias is nothing but a nickname. That is another name for already existing variable. Once a reference is initialized with a variable, either the variable name or reference name may be used to refer to the same variable. So I said, if you are going to call Amit or if you are going to call Sumit, a same person will come, because Amit and Sumit is the name of same person. What is the syntax? That's very simple. You are looking, I have declared a variable int I equals to 17. For creating a reference, you need to use a syntax data type ampersand. Don't be confused, that ampersand is not address of. That is a syntax to create a reference variable. So data type ampersand new name equals to old name. So let's suppose the old name was Amit and you want to give a new name Sumit. So you need to write data type ampersand Sumit equals to Amit. So here is a variable I equals to 7. I want to give a new name to I. Int ampersand R equals to I. So that I said data type ampersand new name equals to old name. Now R and I refers to the same memory location, because R is an alias, is a nickname to I. So any modification done on R will automatically reflect on I. So look at the example of reference variable. You have used an integer variable I and double variable d and written r equals to I. So r is an alias of integer variable and s is an alias of double variable. Now I equals to 5. You are printing the value of I, that is 5. And you are printing the value of r, that will also be 5. Now you have taken d equals to 11.7. You are printing d, that will be 11.7, and you are printing s, that will be 11.7. Now let's suppose you have written I equals to I plus 2, and then you are printing I, that will print 7. Then you are printing r, that will also print 7, because any modification done on I will automatically reflect on r also, because I and r is representing the same memory location. That is a concept of a reference variable. Now we have already seen the output, what will come. Now we need to discuss. So when you will pass a variable, and then in the function, if you will create a reference of this variable, there is no need to use pointer. And when you will create a reference, an alias, then whatever the modification you will do in alias, that will automatically reflect in original value. So you will think this is much easier in comparison of pointer. You do not need to pass address, you do not need to receive in a pointer, then you do not need to understand the manipulation of pointer. You just need to pass the variable, create the reference, and then whatever you will do, that will automatically reflect on original value. Let's see an example. That was a passing by pointer versus passing by reference in C++. So remember C, recall C. If you want to do by using pointer, see the main method. You have written A equals to 45, B equals to 35. You have passed ampersand A, ampersand B. Means you are passing the address of A and address of B. That address of A will be received by the pointer X, and that address of B will be received by the pointer Y. And then you have swapped the value of AB with the help of pointer XY. Then you will print, and swapped value will be printed, means the value of A will be printed 35 and the value of B will be printed 45. That you have already done. In C you told it as a call by reference, but in C++ this is called call by pointer. Now this is call by reference, and look, this is how easy it is. Look at the main method first. A equals to 45, B equals to 35. Before swapping, you are printing A, that will print A equals to 45, and you are printing B, B equals to 35. Now inside swap, you are simply passing A and B. Now you are creating a reference of A named X. So think it is like int ampersand X equals to A. That was the syntax of a reference variable. So that is very similar. The X is created as a reference of A, means A and X is now pointing to the same memory location. You have created a reference variable of B as a Y. So that is like int ampersand Y equals to B. So Y and B is pointing to the same memory location. That's all. Now you are swapping it, just swapping like a normal variable. So you are swapping just X and Y, and whatever the modification you have done in X and Y, that will automatically reflect in A and B also, because X and Y are not different variable, are not different memory location. They are pointing to the same memory location, which is pointed by A and B respectively. So the name of a variable, one more name you have given to a variable, that is X, and one more name you have given to a B variable, that is Y. So whatever the manipulation, modification done in X and Y, that will automatically reflect in A and B, because X and Y are not to another variable, that is a reference of A and B variable. Call by value, I do not need to discuss too much about it. So you are passing just data inside a change function, and in change function you are changing the value data equals to 5. It will not reflect in the cout statement because you have changed inside of method. So by default, call by value concept is used. Now one more important point, inline function. Look at whatever I am telling. Try to understand carefully. Whenever you call a function, what happens? Previous value get stored inside a stack. Cursor jump to that function, return from execute it, and return to the same position from where it was called. So whenever you are calling a function, previous value is stored inside a stack. Cursor will jump to the body of the function, execute it, and return to the same position from where it was called. Let's suppose you have written a two-line function. You don't think that will be a too much tedious task. Lot of time is going to be wasted. This would be easy. I have not created that function. That two-line I have written in the same program. Yeah, if the function is large, that is okay. But if the function is of two lines, so think four walks is going to happen. First, previous value will stored inside a stack. Cursor will jump. Function execute. That is okay. Return. Previous value will be popped. So lot of time is going to be waste. Inline function is a solution of it. In inline function, whenever you call a function, cursor is not going to the function body. That function body will come where you have called the function. Now, there are a lot of twists here. Otherwise, everywhere you could use inline function, but that doesn't happen. So what is a twist? We'll understand. First, try to understand what is inline function written here. One of the major objective of using function in a program is to save memory space, which becomes appreciable when a function is likely to be called many times. However, every time a function is called, it takes a lot of extra time in executing tasks such as jumping to the calling function. When a function is small, a subsequent percentage of execution time may be spent in such overhead, and sometimes maybe the time taken for jumping to the calling function will be greater than the time taken to execute that function. So I told if the function is of two lines, so jumping will take a lot of time. One solution is macro, but preprocessor macro are popular in C. Drawback is macro is not a function. You cannot perform any error checking on macro. Whatever you want, you can write in macro. So macro is not a proper solution. The solution is inline function. C++ has a different solution. Now I have told you that why not to create every function as inline if it is saving the time? Because whenever you are going to create a function as inline, you are not giving a command to a compiler. You are just requesting to the compiler. And compiler might accept your request, might reject your request. If it will reject your request, it will treat it as a normal function. And if it will accept your request, then it will be treated as a inline function. Now, how you will know that it will get accepted or rejected, you will don't know. The execution time. If you are finding out the execution time, you will see the difference of execution time. If it is treated as an inline, execution time will be less. If it will not take as an inline, the execution time will be normal. Error will not come. In any case, error will not come. Now the question arises, when the compiler will accept and when the compiler is reject. When the function is small, compiler will accept. When the function is large, compiler will reject. Now how you can say the function is small and when you will say function is large? So there are certain points I have written. If these points are there in the function, function is large, treated as a large. And if you even you are created inline function, compiler will treat as a normal function. So what are the circumstances if the function contains a loop? If you have uses a loop, even though you have created it as an inline, it will treat it as a normal function. If the function is recursive, if a function contains static variable, if the function contains switch or go to a statement, if the function is returning value, in all cases, even though you are created inline, function will be treated as a normal function. So it means simply if you are adding two values, subtracting two value, and then you are creating it as an inline, it will treat it as an inline. How to create an inline function? That's very simple. You just need to use an inline keyword before the function definition. So you are looking, I have created a function cube, int cube. Before there, I have written inline. Now what will happen? Come into the main function, a equals to 11. Then you are passing cube a, cube 3. So here the cursor will not jump to the cube function. That s into s into s will come automatically here, and 27 will be printed. Means here, because the cube function is inline, cursor will not move to the inline function. The body of the function will come here automatically. You will not see. Internally it will happen. That cursor will not go there. S into S into S will come here, and 27 will be printed. Again, you have called inc function. You have created it as an inline by writing a keyword inline, and then you are passing 11. Plus plus a will come here, and 12 will be printed. Cursor will not go to the inc function. So that is the advantage of inline function. So that is about inline function. I would like to request every one of you that please Google about inline function. So again I am telling that you will not see any difference of if you are creating an inline function or if you are not creating an inline function, because output is not going to be affected. What will get affected? Your execution time. There is no error will come if you are using a loop inside inline, if you are using a static variable inside inline. Just that function will be treated as a normal function. So just try to run this code and practice more and more. In the very next session, we'll discuss about structure in C and C++. So are they similar or something different? We'll discuss about these all things. So thank you very much for today's session. Thanks.